Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to February. I am Elvia Rowe of angelsteach.com, and I am so glad that you are here for a message from your angels. Before we begin, there's something I want to emphasize. I usually say it at the end, but it's guided to say it at the beginning because it's so important to remind you that you, yes, you, are a profoundly intuitive human being. Whether you believe it or not, it's true because we're all born with this connection to source that is a birthright. And we forget that. We're not taught that. We're not in a culture, most of us are not in a culture where that is common knowledge. So I just want to remind you of that. So maybe, if you're resisting it a little bit, it tickles something within you. Because what I invite you to do is, as messages come up through you, as we go through this experience with 3 different scenes here today, I really want to encourage you to own whatever it is that comes through you. So as we're, for example, going through number 2, if you're suddenly feeling this real strong sense of, well, I also think it's about this for me, own that, because that's your angels talking to you. So important to listen to that. So to this end, I invite you to allow your angels to give you a number, 1, 2, or 3. And since I seem to sort of be a magnet for people who are maybe a little bit of the indigo soul kind of, kind of following directions, and believe me, I'm like of that ilk as well, that nature. So, if you're getting more than one number, that's totally cool. There's no rules here other than that you follow your guidance. So I am encouraging you to at least give a little bit of extra emphasis to one thing, 1, 2, or 3, and then take everything that you need and add to that. So our theme for this month is a personal favorite. I don't really understand anybody who doesn't love chocolate. Just kidding. I know. My dearest brother is not such a fan of chocolate, and that's okay. I don't understand it, but it's okay. It's between him and God. Anyway, without further ado, I have 3 different scenes for you from a grocery shopping adventure that I went on a couple weeks ago in the chocolate aisle. And each of these different selections of chocolate carry a different message. And one thing I want to point out before I show you is that the music that was playing, and I wish I could share it because it just adds to the message. I'll drop the link in the comments on the post, but it was Spandau Ballet True. And I can't share it within this video because of copyright violations, but suffice to say that clairaudiently, it adds a lot. Takes me back to the 80s for one. Really good decade for me personally. Just great music. Love Spandau Ballet. May not be your cup of tea, but the fact that it's this name of the song is True just feels like it emphasizes, the truth of your divine guidance. So let's take a look at the first scene here. And again, I'm in the grocery aisle, and this was not expected as I was doing my shopping. I didn't think I was going to do this, but there we are. That's kind of how the angels work. Suddenly like, oh, okay, let's do this. So I was drawn to these peanut butter cups, Justin's peanut butter cups, and they are dark chocolate, but they're crispy, so they have quinoa in them. And I want to point out, and again, this is personal preference, but I'm weaving my own intuitive vocabulary, my own intuitive experience into this, and then, of course, you take what you need to. But I don't like quinoa in my chocolate. It's confusing to me. And that's what the message is here for you folks that chose number 1, is that there's something in your reality that is confusing, that doesn't belong, that is something that's being presented to you. And I do want to keep this serious because, obviously, always good to have fun with the angels. But at the end of the day, they're really working to help us to feel that wholeness of life, that happiness and peace and tranquility and all those good things. So they help us to look at those things that need to shift, that need to change. And so, the quinoa in the peanut butter cup is about looking at your life for something that feels like it belongs, but it doesn't. It's something that you're kind of pretending is okay, and it's not okay. And if you need clarity around that, ask your angels to help you with that. I would, maybe it's also possible that number 2 or number 3 could help to give you clarity around this. Excuse me. But the essence is that there is something in your life that feels like it's supposed to be there, but ultimately it doesn't belong. Okay, so moving on for you, number 2, folks. I wasn't sure if it was down the aisle. Great selection of chocolate. Lots and lots of chocolate, which is always a happy thing. And what came forward next is Moe's Dark Bacon Chocolate. And again, this could be something that, similar to the quinoa, it just doesn't belong, except that that's not what the message is. The message here is about allowing what I'm hearing literally is allowing the fat. So, because bacon is, of course, one of those foods that has a high fat content, right? And it's, I love bacon, but it's also one of those things in moderation. And what I'm hearing is that if number 2 folks have been experiencing life in too trimmed down a way, and to allow more luxury, more what is the word they're giving me? More truth, of course, but more goodness, more pampering. There it is. That's the word I'm looking for. More pampering in your life, more of that almost over, it's going to feel almost like you're over nurturing yourself, but the fact is that you haven't been nurturing yourself enough. And your life has been too, I keep hearing, trimmed down. So how can you fatten it up? How can you bring more pampering, more luxury, more juicy goodness into your life? How can you expand is also what I'm hearing, because there's so much that life has to offer you. And if the mindset is very sort of narrow and trimmed down, and for those of you, who are experiencing kind of a rough winter, which, it's been very cold here in Massachusetts. And, for some of us, it's hard to feel like an opportunity to expand. But this is where imagination, I think, is so important. And I think this feels like a part B to the number 2 message, because who would think to put bacon with chocolate? I mean, really, like, honestly, for me, that's kind of a gross thing, but my daughter-in-law would probably be all over it. And, so it's like using the imagination to come up with something that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise to accomplish the goal of expanding life when it feels like that may not be possible. Understand that if somebody came up with with bacon and chocolate, that anything can happen. The possibilities are endless. So expand your life, pamper yourself, nurture, use your imagination. And of course, as always, ask your angels to help. All right, so for your number 3, folks, there are actually 2 different messages in here. The chocolate that came forward for number 3 is this boho mint. And I love the whole boho vibe, the sort of freedom, the artistic flair, the style, the essence. It's just something that really vibes with me, something that really speaks to me. And I understand that it's not for everyone, but it's part of the message here. And you'll see that with this, there was a little bit of hesitancy to grasp the message. So I think that's part of it for you, number 3 folks. There may be some resistance to this message because you'll see that I scanned the aisle there just to confirm and see if there was anything else that was looking to come forward. And it wasn't, because that was the bar that came home with me. And the angels were like, nope, this is it. So the first part of the message for number 3 is about recapturing, a little bit related to number 2 in some ways, recapturing that artistic essence of who you are, your own personal style. And whatever that is, it could be very conservative, it could be very sort of flamboyant. It doesn't matter. What does is that you really embrace that part of you. And it can be hard, again, referring to here, it's February, winter, colder months. It can be easy to just sort of hang out in sweats and yoga wear and sweatshirts and, for me, wool sweaters and all of that. And that's great for a lot of the time. But this is a call to remember that, how you take care of your body, how you take care of your space really affects how you feel, especially for those of you. I'm going to tip into human design a little bit here. For those of us with an open identity center or certain openness in our charts, we're going to really be affected by our personal space and how we dress and all of those things. Not in an ego kind of way, it's more in a supportive, remembering your role kind of way. So first part of the message for number 3 is to just recapture, is the word that I keep hearing, that essence, that thing that really vibes with you, and bring it, change up your space, change up what you're wearing, even if just for a day or a couple of hours, just revitalize yourself. The second part of the message is about service. And this actually, I think, is a good overall message because with the higher degree of isolation that a lot of folks are feeling right now, it can be easy to sort of just hunker down and be in this space of, hiding almost. And just remembering that service is a big part of the healing process and always makes us feel better. And I mean service, it's not coming from an ego space of I have to do this for them, or it's checking something off the list, but really service that is inspired and comes through you from God and is that, divine kind of service act. And I say this because I brought that chocolate bar home. I thought Peter and I would be sharing it. I didn't like it so much. I knew it was for him, and that made me really happy. I wasn't planning to buy chocolate, but it came home and he enjoyed it very much. And, again, that made me happy. So, it's a month of love. It's a month of chocolate, of course, but it's also a month of love. Not that any month isn't of love, but it's really an opportunity, I think, to remind ourselves of random acts of kindness. Is there somebody you can reach out to? Is there a text you can send? I love taking pictures of angel cards and texting them to people, sending random gifts, giving somebody a call, bringing takeout. There's all different kinds of ways that we can be inspired to serve. And when we do, it brings joy and it brings that connection with Source. Always, again, provided that it's service that's coming straight from the heart. So with that is a wrap for our messages from the angels for the month of February 2022. And again, remember to take those messages that are coming through you, from your angels, And also, if you haven't already, I do invite you to come on over to angelsteach.com and see what we've got going on over there. Sign up for the weekly newsletter. I've just redone the weekly newsletter. I'm really excited about it. I think it's pretty cool. It's got a lot of different elements to it, with sort of like I keep thinking of flights, like a flight of wine, or a flight of whiskey or chocolate or whatever, a taster. The intention of it is to give some substance, but also just give you kind of a taste of what it is to live with the angels. So with that, so much love to you. Be well.